Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 1:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome to Negotiating Happiness. I am your host, Adriana Fierstro, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And if you wanted to sit back and enjoy some of our shows, we are also on Roku. I believe you have to go in and search for the UFO Paranormal Radio Network or United Public Radio Network, and you will find us there. Welcome, everybody. So today I have a little bit of a different plan here. We wanted to kind of go over some of the things that have popped up in the last little bit. I know I've had a couple of shows that have been replays because life is busy and it's okay that we need time to ourselves as well. But I hope you enjoyed the replays. I definitely put on the ones that I thought were really well received and with some amazing guests that had so much to say. That's gold for small businesses. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like to do competitor analysis, because this has come up over and over again. So we will talk about why it's important and how to do it yourself. And for those of you who are just tuning in and haven't had a chance to listen to any of the other shows, I'm the host of the show, and I'm also the owner of Ontario Assistant as an online business manager. And we cater to small businesses and entrepreneurs. I have a legal background and I focus on operational efficiency. And we focus on operating systems, project and staff management, developing marketing practices, and we also improve online presence for business owners. We do so much more. We are happy that we get to support small businesses every single day. I love doing this. I'm also a mom, and I love traveling. So I often talk about how much I love my toddler, but also like parenting is hard. So we keep it real around here. I did want to point out one other thing for you guys, because I'm super excited to meet the ladies that have already signed up, and we have a couple of spots left. It is the Entrepreneur Escape Fall Retreat, and it is open for registration. It's an intimate 2-day get-together of business owners, and it's happening this September, and it's on the tranquil shores of Lake Simcoe, or I guess we picked that to kind of give people an idea of where it is in that area. It's near Aurelia in Ontario in Canada. And we just want you to get away from the endless cycle of your day-to-day. And we want you to come, relax, recharge, and refocus in the crisp fall air. Whether you've been feeling overwhelmed by your operations or you just need a break, this retreat is the perfect way to connect with other Ontario-based entrepreneurs and reclaim control of your business. So if you want to learn more about the retreat, then you can head over to ontarioassistant.com/retreat. And I'll put it here on the screen as well for you guys to be able to check it out. So yeah, I can't wait to get to know the ladies that have already signed up. In our application process, we've asked people to let us know kind of, what they're struggling with, what they hope to achieve out of it because we want to customize it. And Jen and I actually just had a live on Instagram and we talked all about it. So I'm super, super pumped to see where this takes us because we kind of want to make it a regular thing. And who knows, maybe we'll do one outside of Ontario next. Who knows? I mean, come on, who doesn't want a vacation that you can also put on your taxes for business purposes, right? Because we will be covering workshops, mini consults, brand shoots. You'll also have time built in there to get to know everybody. We'll do some networking, some bonfires, some hikes, and also what if you want to sleep in for the 2 nights that we're there, right? Why not? Why not? So we've got it all, and it's a la carte meals. It's all inclusive. We've got meeting space as well. We're not going to be crammed in some cabin somewhere. It's at Fern Resort. They do this kind of thing. So I'm super pumped to be hosting that. Again, if you want to check out the details, go to ontario.com/retreat. I can't wait. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. I wanted to talk a bit about what you can, like, why you should do competitor analysis, because especially if you are newer, you need to understand kind of what what your market that you're going in. So I'm getting distracted. I'm getting some comments here. If you guys have questions, please just put on your comments. Don't worry. And just keep it constructive, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, or if you have any questions about what we're talking about, or if you have something to add to the conversation, please do. I will feature you as long as it's constructive. So we want to do competitor analysis because we don't know where we're putting our resources and kind of like, what is the industry standard? What is everybody else doing? What are they good at? What are they not good at? And most importantly, what am I good at and what are my weaknesses? So we're going to talk kind of like in a step-by-step situation of how you would start this out. So let's say you have a business idea and you need to do this in order to kind of develop more of your services or more of how you're going to present yourself to your clients. So start out by listing your direct and indirect competitors, right? So direct competitors offer similar services or products, while indirect competitors, they might serve the same target audience, but they have different solutions. So you have to figure out kind of where you live in that. And that is sometimes hard. You might have one idea that is brilliant, and then you're now kind of trying to build around it. I get it. It's not always easy. So this is definitely going to help. So just start by identifying them. Make sure you know who they are. Make sure you know what they do and understand who they're speaking to in whatever is client facing. So like website, socials, blogs, right? That you then start to gather your data by doing that. So you can look at industry reports. You look at customer reviews. That's really important. Here we have a comment here from Alicia Lopez. Hi, Ali. Says, love this. Looking at your competition is so important to help you have a better grasp of what's being offered in the market and any areas of weakness or opportunities. Totally. And we need to kind of not focus on the weaknesses, but at the same time do, because if you can do it better, why not start there, right? Why not showcase that right away? Thank you for that comment. Totally, 100% true, 100% I agree. We tend to focus on the things that we do really well, which is great, but when it comes to brand messaging or getting out the your message, you want to make sure that you're not saying the same thing as your competitors, because honestly, it's just not going to help you, because when somebody searches you, you literally get the same people saying the same things. There's nothing that sticks out that makes you unique. Like, why should somebody go with your business, right? So this is why this is super important. And you're at the stage of gathering your data, right? So you have to understand what products or services they offer and what their features are. And like, what's their pricing like? What is their positioning? I know people don't like to talk about money, but in business, like, that's kind of the point, right? So you need to keep going. You need to keep finding out these things in order to position yourself better. And I just gave a really good example earlier in my live that it's funny that I didn't know that I was undercharging for my services until I was talking to somebody else in the industry. And she was nice enough to tell me, or to be open with me, right? She didn't gatekeep that information. And then I was like, oh, wow, like, I'm really undercharging, so I should be charging more. And just having that kind of information makes all of the difference, right? Um, so not only should you know their service and offerings, you should also know their target audience, right? Who's their primary and who's their secondary, right? Everything works in tiers. It's not just kind of like a bucket full of people. You need to get strategic with this, right? Like, do it on paper, do it on a computer, do it somewhere where you can then go back, because our brain is probably, like, filled with a bunch of ideas that we need to kind of weed out. So also think about the psychographics. So, like, think about their primary target audience. What are they thinking about? What are their pain points, right? Same with their secondary target audience. This could be something that, maybe they only need a couple of times. Maybe they work in a specific industry if they're secondary, but their primary is who they're targeting the most, probably at different points. So what are they thinking? What are their problems? Why are they even looking for this solution? That's what the psychographics are talking about, because the more you understand what they're going through, the better copy you're going to write and the better messaging you're going to present. And people are going to be able to relate right away and say, yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I need, right? And also, these days, online presence is everything, right? You have to look at their website. You look at social media accounts, and what are their content marketing efforts looking like, right? Like, are they somebody who pays somebody else like, $5,000 a month to run a social media manager? Or is this somebody that kind of does their own DIY, social media, and they have no idea what they're looking at when it comes to the analytics, board? Like, I'm talking about Instagram specifically, right? When you click on it, they're just looking at it and they see a bunch of numbers, right? Like, there's just you can be in between somewhere there, and that's okay. But you need to see what they're doing, because obviously if you're picking a competitor that's really big, then they're obviously doing something right. Okay. What other marketing strategies do they have? Is it just, they're throwing content out there, hoping it'll stick? Or do they use content marketing specifically geared towards their audience, right? Do they use SEO? Do you know if they use SEO? Do you know where to look, right? So SEO is search engine optimization. So they use keywords in everything that they put out there in hopes that somebody is going to search and find them through those keywords. And I didn't know this until recently, and I mentioned it in one of my other episodes, but you can actually add alternative text to your Instagram posts, which goes in with the SEO, right? So whenever somebody searches something on Instagram or is looking at something similar, the algorithm is more likely to find it because you've given it those keywords that it needs, right? Do they use email marketing? And I know a lot of people are not convinced about email marketing. And the reason why that is because we get spammed every single day with a whole bunch of emails, right? I mean, I could probably go in my inbox right now and I have like 10 emails from all these retailers that I usually shop at, right? Every day. So it just depends on what kind of email marketing they do. And do you know how to find out? Obviously, use an email address and sign up for their newsletter. See what it's like. See if you like their frequency, who they're talking to, and what they include in their email marketing. That's a really good tool to know of your competitors. Or do they do like influencer partnerships, right? You can be a micro influencer, or you can be an influencer that has like millions of followers. You just have to figure out all of these things to understand their situation. The more data that you have on your competitor, the less likely you are to quickly judge yourself or compare yourself, because you'll realize that nobody's situation is the same. So that's why this data is really important. And what is their unique selling proposition? This is what I was telling you about. What sets them apart from you, right? And what are the benefits? What do they emphasize? What do they focus on, right? That's how you need to position yourself as well. What makes you different than that competitor? You could easily do that by going on their website, right? A lot of the times, this is what the website, the new calling card or the new business card is our website, right? So we could do that. We can also check out some of their freebies. So if you're doing the freebie correctly, or if you're doing it to attract people to your website, you'll know that somewhere in there, maybe towards the end, they'll have a call to action to either a specific service or a specific event that they're holding, something to grab their attention to continue this journey that they embarked on. It's like, yes, I've given you a free tool or free whatever, you've signed up, so now I have your email in my email marketing platform, and now you have something free from me, but also I want to continue this relationship. So how do I do that? I include things that are uniquely propositioned to me, or services that are most popular, or maybe services that you want to develop. So that way, the more you're involved, the more you know about what their kind of thing they're offering, right? And read their customer feedback, like read their reviews. It is the best way to tell whether somebody is happy with them or not, and why. Sometimes people will be really, really specific. And while, yes, I understand and agree that not everybody that is happy is willing to leave a review, because it's just our nature, they're most likely to leave a review if they are upset about something. So that could kind of be your in to be like, oh, so maybe they didn't do this well at that point, right? See it from the customer's perspective. Maybe the customer raved about how easy the process was. So then now in your head, you should be thinking, I wonder like what their process is. I wonder what kind of systems they have in place. I wonder how they make the customer journey a lot smoother for them, right? We've got here, let's see, we've got some tools here that we can talk about. Obviously, the very first thing, so we're at the stage of, we're identifying and gathering information. You can use a simple Google search to get you started. And then from then on, you can kind of fall down the rabbit hole and go from, post to post to post. So what about industry directories, right? Like you can look through. So if you're in a very specific industry, or if you know that you belong to an association or a group or whatever, they're most likely to have directories with links, and maybe even by geography, or depending on what industry you're in, you'll definitely find some there. I've also heard of people using SEMrush, which is it's kind of like an SEO tool, right? SEM Rush. It provides really comprehensive data on competitors' website, and including their organic search rankings. So what that means is you'll be able to tell how many people organically come to their website, not through paid ads, for example, right? So obviously they're sought after. That's kind of like the conclusion that you get out of that. They even show you backlinks. So let's say they have publications that post them or promote them, and then they link back to their websites. That's kind of like one way to do a backlink, or paid advertising. SEMrush will give you all that information. I use Hike. HIKE. You could do that as well. It gives you kind of a dashboard of very similar things. All of these platforms are fairly similar. There's another one called SimilarWeb, and it offers insights into website traffic, audience demographics, and referral sources for competitor websites, which is really good. There's also social media analytics tools that you can use, like Social Bakers or Sprout Social. I actually don't. I didn't really hear of them until I looked it up for today's episode, so I'm not super familiar with them. It tracks a competitor's social media engagement and content performance. And obviously, a lot of these platforms cost money, so you have to be very aware of what your resources are like, what your marketing spend is, and all that. But you can also use the analytics that are provided right through your social media channels. So if you switch your Instagram account to a business account, you'll get a whole dashboard of things that you can look at, right? So if I look at mine, I'll give you a live example, right? So I'll tell you how easy it is. So I just go into my Instagram. Just bear with me here. And we just did a live. So I'm going to go to my profile, right? So I'm just going to my profile. For anybody listening, I'm trying to show you my phone as it comes here. And at the very top here, it says professional dashboard, right? So you click on that. Right away at the top, it also tells you how many accounts you've reached in the past 30 days. So let's look at the content that we shared. It tells me I've shared 72 pieces of content in the last 30 days. Cool. So when you scroll through, it'll show you the amount of numbers that you see there in black. Those are the numbers. That's how many accounts you've reached just through that little bit right there. And you can toggle it. So you want to see it for the whole year, for the whole quarter, depending on what your strategy is like. And also, if you keep going down, there's actually tips and resources for reels and whatnot. And it is true, a lot more video content is shown, like the algorithm seems to like it. Now, when I just posted the live, you can see it going. Right under it says view insights. So you click on that. It's so funny. I say click, but it's actually tap. And it tells me, so in like the last 20 minutes, it reached 21 accounts and 4 of them were non-followers, right? So if your goal is to grow, then you look at what your non-followers are too, because that's what you're trying to get. You're trying to get the attention of more people. So every single one of your competitor also has access to things like this, but there are tools that will let you see kind of what they see as well. And it's important to keep checking them, make it part of your strategy. Okay. So do use it. Facebook has the Meta Business dashboard. You can see very similar things as well. And if you want to check out customer reviews and to see kind of like what they do well, what they don't, there's Yelp, Trustpilot, there's like Google My Business, right? Which I think is now merged into Google Maps, but that's what I like to use. There's just a ton of different ones. If you want to, like if you're in Ontario, I know a lot of people use this where they go to Better Business Bureau, but those are basically for people who kind of buy into that. Regardless, unfortunately, when you go to Better Business Bureau, you get to see a whole bunch of negative situations that happened, but it might give you an idea of what to look out for. Okay. So basically, once you've gathered all of your data, I suggest doing this in like a Google sheet, right? Like an Excel type, so that you can keep track of all the different kinds of information that you're looking at. And then we can do a SWOT analysis. Okay. So you've got, what is SWOT, right? SWOT. and it is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for each competitor, right? So we've been talking about this kind of the whole time, but now this is the point where you've gathered your data and you can then identify the different factors, which kind of category they fall in. So that's strengths, right? What are they doing exceptionally well? Can you compete with that? Can you do it better, or can you at least do a really good job too? Because you might have other attributes that will persuade somebody to come to you as a business. Weaknesses, where do they fall short, and what are the challenges? Are these some of the challenges that you're going to be facing, right? Opportunities, you can identify potential areas where they could improve or expand, because then that will signal to you to do the same or to take advantage of these holes in the market that your competitors have left. Okay. And then threats. Well, recognize external factors that could affect their business negatively, because again, you could be in the same exact position. So could this be because they're a brick and mortar store and most of the stores in their plaza have closed down? Like, that's a threat, right? You get less foot traffic, especially if you depend on foot traffic. That's crucial, right? Or if you are a digital service, right, and they've just passed a law where you are that you have to be regulated, that is a threat. It's good because you can kind of go through the process and become certified in something and show that you are certified and you answer to somebody with your services and whatnot. But it's a threat right now because it might actually put you out of work. So those are the kind of things that you go through in list for each and every single one of your competitor, right? SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay. And you definitely should be doing that for yourself as well. Put yourself in the pile and do that. The only way I can say that you can organize this well, like I said, is Google Sheets or a Microsoft Excel sheet. There are templates out there specifically for SWOT, SWOT. You can even find them on Canva if you want to make it look pretty. Or they're available online and you can structure it kind of that way if you want. Or honestly, simply, you could just put the acronym at the top and just each new column is the spot where you can put everything in. That's how I would organize it. And the only tool that you can use is, you think about it critically after you've gathered your data and say, is this a strength? Is it really a strength? Is it a threat? That's all that you can use. Okay. And the next part in this is benchmarking, right? So compare your business now after you've done that and look at KPIs, right? So key performance indicators. And what can you compare with? Is it website traffic? Is it conversion rates, right? So when we say conversion rates, it's how many people have you sent proposals to and how many people accepted, right? That's the conversion rate. What about social media engagement, right? Like, what are your KPIs? What indicates performance in your industry or in your business? So now that you have all that data and it's organized, you can then compare it to yourself to see where either you could improve or where you're doing exceptionally well versus everybody else, because that could be your unique proposition, or if there's just a gap, right? And I think we're going to talk about it a little bit later as well. I think it is time for our intro. So if you are just tuning in, I guess we're halfway through the show, right? If you are tuning in just now, you're listening to Negotiating Happiness, and I'm your host, Adriana, and we talk about anything entrepreneur, parenting, anything to do with small business and growth and how to find your happy. What is your happy medium? That's what we deal with here. And we are live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And we're also on Roku TV. So if you do want to sit back and watch us, some of our shows are on there. You just have to search for the United Public Radio Network channel. Okay. So thanks so much for tuning in. we are discussing today how to do effective competitor analysis, because it is super, super important to be able to build your business the right way. We were talking about benchmarking and comparing our KPIs, our key performance indicators, with other competitors, either direct or indirect. So another really good tool for KPIs would be Google Analytics, right? And you can sign up for it. It doesn't cost any money. The only money that you will have to pay for there is if you want like additional services with them, or if you want ads, right? So you can sign right up. Basically, you insert this tag, which is like a number, into your website, and it tracks what your data is for the next little while. So you can use Google Analytics, and you can also use social media insights from their analytics dashboards. And how often should you do this? I don't know. It depends on what kind of business you're in. How much do you think that this will matter? I think it does matter once you get to the point of having effective marketing in place and actually spending more money on resources. You want to make sure that they're working well, and you want to make sure that you can interpret them. So what does it mean when Instagram tells me that most of my followers, or the people that engage with my contact, like most of them are female? Is that I am speaking to that audience specifically. If at any point I would have a service that would only be good for, let's say, male entrepreneurs, I'm just giving you an example, then I would need to speak to that audience. So then I would need to change my content. For me, it doesn't matter. It just means that a lot more female entrepreneurs resonate with what I'm saying. And I'm okay with that, right? It just depends what business you're in, right? So the next step in our analysis would be to determine your competitive positioning, right? So how does it compare then to your competitors? Or how does it compare in the minds of your target audience, right? Like, what unique value can you offer? So a unique value for me, like there's a ton of OBMs. A unique value for me would be that I have a legal background, so I can definitely help set up small business owners with different contracts and different policies that would help them have a much stronger back end, plus my tech side, right? So like my unique positioning is that I have both and can combine them and make their lives a lot easier. Whereas maybe some of my competitors are strictly, let's say Dipsado specialist. I love Dipsado, and I set up Dipsado as well, but they're just Dipsado specialists. Like that's their unique positioning. Whereas I can also set up Notion for you, or HubSpot, depending on what you're looking for. Okay. And you just need to identify what that is to be able to speak to that. So people know that you are different than your competitors in that way. Okay. One way to do that, like one tool that you could use is to do perception surveys, right? So get feedback, talk to your target audience, ask them questions, do some polls. All that stuff is available on social media. You need to gauge how they perceive your brand compared to competitors. Honestly, what really worked in the past was to have like a coffee chat, send them a little like Starbucks gift card code to say, hey, coffee's on me. Can we just talk for 20 minutes? I just want to ask you some questions. I know you've been around for a little while, or you've been a previous client, or, and if you decide that that's your target audience, and you can ask them a couple of questions, you can basically nurture that relationship, right? They're most likely to remember you and come back to you when they need something, because you've given them the attention, but you also gave them the understanding that their time is precious. So, and that is valued. You bought them a coffee and you got the basically a survey, a verbal survey. You can even ask them, hey, can I record this for my purposes? Like I work with a client who does record target audience messaging, and then they use it in their marketing, which is amazing because, even if you have somebody else, let's say you have a team, eventually you want to be able to use that information. And if everything is stored up here in your head, it's not possible for your team to operate your business if you don't have these systems in place. So this is a really good piece of information that you could keep for later as well if you go the route of, let's say, having a virtual coffee chat, right? We are now on the pricing analysis. So what are your competitors' pricing strategies? Are they positioned as a premium, budget, or mid-range option, right? Like how do their prices compare to your own? And this is kind of what I was talking about, is I really don't know how I went so long without realizing that I was undercharging. And it was only when I started kind of analyzing what everybody else was charging, after I spoke to a business friend, that I realized, I was like, wow, I'm severely undercharging. Or maybe let me back it up. Severely undercharging for very similar services, right? Because if you offer very specialized service, or if my friend offered very specialized services that required a lot more knowledge and I was just doing admin, then it doesn't really make sense, right? So it has to be compared to your services or the value that they get out of it. Not that it's not valuable, but like there's a reason. I'll give you an example. There's a reason why let's say a doctor who goes to school for 15 years makes more money than somebody, like obviously on top of the fact that they do such traumatic and urgent work. There's a difference why they get paid more than, let's say, other professions where you're only required to go to school for 2 years, right? It just depends on what kind of service that you offer. Sometimes doctors save lives. I get it, And if you're really stuck, right, there are softwares out there who will tell you what prices your competitors have, right? There's, I think I used Price to Spy before. And when I looked it up, there's another one. It's Price Sync, and it can help you monitor competitors' pricing changes and trends. Now, I don't think that these platforms have everybody's pricing. I think it really depends, what industry you're in. But I just think that you need to give it a try. Sometimes they have free trials. So while you're doing like all this like analysis, and information gathering, you could probably just use a free trial and then get the information that you need. Sometimes what they do is they'll give you kind of like partial information and they want you to pay if you want more, but something is better than nothing, right? Let's see. What else would we do? We can look at a gap analysis, right? So we've talked about, is there a gap in the sector that you serve? What about unmet customer needs? So not just a gap, but needs that, that some of the customers that are using them are not being this. I'll give you one of my examples is, could you diversify or could you include it in your service where the people that are coming to you for web design, right? Let's pick that one. People that are coming to you for web design, but they also need somewhere to host it. And they also need somebody to monitor it and back it up. Could you also offer those services? Probably, right? You have to think of the journey of the customer. What about before? What makes them get to the point where they need, web design? Well, they probably needed a logo. They probably needed some marketing tools. They probably needed that. Could you do the marketing part? Could you do the design before, right? So the before, the current, and then the after. Could you do an entire journey? That's why I think there's a lot of agencies, right, that do a lot of online work that way, because it makes sense. You already have the person that is coming to you for one specific thing. The next logical step would be X, Y, and Z. So why not offer X, Y, and Z, right? But that doesn't mean stretch yourself out. Like if you're doing this on your own, you need to focus on what you like doing and what makes you basically the most money. So that's why you're trying to identify in your competitors, right? Where are they falling short? Like what are their customers' unmet needs? And do you fill those, or could you fill those in the future? Right? This would definitely help you differentiate, like your positioning from them. This is what I would use, right? And for some tools, you can use some keyword research tools. So go back to your SEO platforms like SEMrush or Hike. And they'll identify some keywords and topics that your competitors may not be covering. So a lot of these tools also have the ability to show you what people are searching for and who your competitors are already. So if you don't know, that's a really good place to start with as well. And I'm pretty sure they have a free trial as well if you're really, curious about where to go, where to start. And also you can still use surveys or feedback from your customers or other customers in this gap analysis, right? So again, have coffee chats, go to networking events, find other professions that serve the same audience but for a different purpose. So there's a reason why realtors and mortgage brokers partner up to do a lot of things, because they serve the same target audience, the people that are either looking to buy or sell, but they serve different purposes. So they can then team up while still being independent, or, the funnel of work keeps coming through. So this is really helpful. Maybe you decide one day that, oh, maybe I don't want to be a realtor anymore. Maybe that's why I want to be a mortgage broker, because then they're going to need that side of it. Obviously, it's not a great example because there's a lot of them and it takes, getting certified and being under a regulatory body. But I'm just giving you an example of how to look at a target audience from your competitors' point of view and then from the actual customer point of view. Feedback is always good, even if it's negative. I don't care what anybody says. Even if it's negative, it's always good. Does it suck? Yeah, it sucks, but it gives you an idea of where to start, right? And it kind of keeps you, real. Not everything is good all the time. And maybe you've evolved past certain things and you just can't see it because you're in the weeds every day, right? Like I was talking to Jen about this. It's hard sometimes to see what the solution to your business is because you're in it every single day. That's why you need somebody else to look from the outside. This is why we do a lot of SWOT analysis, SWOT, right? So the next part would be which is a long process. I'm not going to deny it, long process, to monitor and iterate, right? So it is an ongoing process. So just because today in September of 2023, this is what they're at, doesn't mean that they're not also growing your competitors, right? Or that they're not also switching gears. So you need to continuously do this, whether you decide it's every 6 months or every year, that's up to you. Or you can use tools like Google Alerts, right? Like every time somebody, posts or searches for something XYZ, you get a notification. You could use that and be prompted when that happens. And there are social media listening tools as well. So whenever something, there's an event that triggers it and then you get notified depending on what that is. Maybe you want to see every time somebody comments on XYZ, or maybe you just want to see what they're posting every time. So you make sure that you follow their notifications in your app. That is totally possible. There are some other listening tools. I haven't worked with them personally, but I think it's called Brandwatch. I'm not sure. And it basically, it monitors mentions of the competitors on social media and the web. So this would be targeted towards someone specifically. I never went in that deep with my competitor analysis because again, OBMs, VAs, like there's so many, but they're all specialized in very different things. And I don't care for a particular competitor. I just want to learn from other people. So I have a list that I have in an Excel sheet that I sometimes look at, and I update as I click on the links just to see kind of like what's going on. What are they doing? Am I competitive enough for this? Or maybe my website is just super outdated. And then when I see all of my other competitors, it's kind of like, well, I can see why people wouldn't want to click on or want to go further, or their attention is gone in, a minute on the website. So I definitely would monitor that. And our last step here in conducting a competitor analysis is, using the actual data and where to go from here, which can sometimes be the hardest, right? Because nobody can tell you. You have to make those decisions. And I've seen a lot of people who experience decision fatigue. And honestly, this is why we created that retreat, because we wanted to be able to get some of that out of our system. But anyway, let's see how we can use the data wisely. Basically, you can use it to refine your marketing efforts to develop a competitive advantage, right? So you can use it to be on various platforms. Maybe your competitors only use one platform. I know clients who won't use more than one, like LinkedIn, right? Are they missing out? Maybe, but if that's where their market is, then maybe that's it. It just depends. Maybe you always wanted to use Pinterest to create backlinks and none of your competitors are on Pinterest. I wonder why, right? So you look at it, you identify the gaps, you see what your weaknesses are too and strengths, then you try to strategize. Your marketing money will go a lot farther if you have a strategy in place. You just throwing up content and hoping it sticks, probably not. And I'm talking from experience because I have been there. And I have done that out of the pure, trying to deal with it, or any of the above, right? So it's not always smart to just post it, post it, post it. Have some sort of strategy. What are you focusing on? What are you not focusing on? So, for example, from when I started my business to now, I don't do certain services anymore because it just doesn't serve me. So, obviously, I can't keep talking about them. And I know this seems like a very common sense thing, but a lot of people still do. And until somebody pointed it out to me, that makes sense with me, right? Like that makes sense to not to do it, but it didn't make sense at the time because I already had so much content that was already pre-programmed that I was going to use or maybe want to recycle, right? It's just not something that you should do just because you have the content recycled or there, right? I did want to show you guys a quick video, but unfortunately, the AI software is not working. And it happens sometimes. It is what it is. It happens. But I want you guys to go in it thinking that you are definitely, viewed as a competitor. So what are the areas that you need to work on, right? Like literally block out some areas. Marketing, services, messaging. So when I say services and messaging, is like your services are your services. So I can implement platforms for you. So like I can install to customize your CRM, right? And then, but what is my messaging? My messaging is that you're going to save hundreds of hours by automating a lot of this repetitive work or these repetitive tasks that your assistant shouldn't be doing. They should be doing something else to help you, right? You're going to be saving money. Yeah, like you spent $400 for the year on the software, but you're saving like 200 man hours, right? So my positioning is that I have experience in this and that I set this up for you and I customize it. My positioning is unique versus other people because maybe they just do the admin part of it, while I'm the one that sets it up and gives you training materials, right? So I'm not saying this is a great example. I just wanted you to see the difference between what your services are and why, right? What is your positioning? What is your marketing? Am I hitting pain points, right? For the pain points for my clients are that they just don't have time for anything, or they need help. So their pain points are, I don't want to break the bank, but I also need help. So how can I do both? So this is why I offer services as in done for you project. So it's a project, it's wrapped up, we're done. Or we have retainers, right? So if you want to have ongoing, work done for you, then we have retainers. So it just depends on what your business is structured like. So if anybody wanted to see a template of what the SWOT analysis looked like, I can get you one just now. I wanted you guys to see it. Let's see. Just bear with me. I thought I had it here, but I didn't. All right, so we have this example. Just bear with me, it's loading. Okay. I'm going to share with you my screen. For those that are listening, I will try to describe what we're looking at. Okay. So here it is. It's just popping up here on the screen. It's a little bit laggy, but here we are. I don't know if you can really see it. Let me make it larger. Does that work? Okay. How about now? Better? Maybe? Not sure. Okay, so you can see the letters SWOT. I think it's on wordstream.com. So this is how you would structure it for every single one of your competitors. So you could just make your sheet and have your competitor's name here on the left and go through it. So S for strengths, right? Things your company does well, qualities that separate you from your competitors, internal resources like skilled, knowledgeable staff, right? That's a resource. And tangible assets such as intellectual property, capital, proprietary technologies, etc. Maybe you have a proven method, right? That is your intellectual property. That would be a strength. Or maybe they have a proven method and you need to look at it. Weaknesses, things your company lacks, things your competitors do better than you, resource limitations, or unclear unique selling proposition, right? So that is a big one because it is very, very hard to come up with something concise that also doesn't limit you from other people, because a lot of new entrepreneurs have that fear, and I myself had it, right? I don't want to isolate myself from potential customers because they think that I'm not somehow, qualified to do, when maybe I am. Okay, I made it a little bit bigger for you guys here. Opportunities. So undeserved markets for specific products, a few competitors in your area, emerging need for your products and services, or press media coverage of your company. So this is where basically, go to that event, go and shake some hands, or go and show up to that online networking event as well. Or if somebody asks you to go live with them on Instagram, that's an opportunity. Take it, right? That kind of thing. And do your competitors do that kind of stuff? Like, I know some of my clients have, they're not competitors, but it tracks, right? Some of my clients have opportunities to go to be in the paper or in some associations, right? Like, that's an opportunity to be able to do that. And T for threats are emerging competitors. Is somebody else coming up? Are they coming in to steal your unique proposition? Who knows? Changing regulatory environment is what I explained for before, it's a threat when you can no longer run your business because somebody decided to regulate it and you're not certified or approved. That's a big threat, right? Or negative press or media coverage. Let's say you work with somebody who got in trouble, like big trouble. That would definitely be a threat because people think you associate with them, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. It is what it is. So you need to be prepared for that. And changing customer attitudes towards your company. So feedback. It's the most important thing. Feedback, feedback, feedback is what's going to make you better at doing what you do. Okay. So that's what the SWOT analysis is. Like I said, you can just find it in a simple Google search, and it is definitely less overwhelming because you are now organized and you can see what the next steps are. Maybe you need to refine certain things. Maybe you need to change the opinion of your clients, or maybe you are doing a fantastic job with your website and you have amazing traffic, but somehow it's not converting. So then you can fix that, right? You can fix why it's not converting. But obviously, step one, getting people to your website, is working. So this is really, really helpful. And I hope that everybody gets to practice it and then do the same for your competitors to understand them better and to position yourself in a much better place for customers to pick you over them. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. It is only Monday, but we're going to hang in there. And I will see you guys soon. I just sent out another round of invites for guests, which means that we have a whole bunch of wonderful entrepreneurs coming through to impart their wisdom. I can't wait to let you guys see. And we actually have a web designer coming on to talk about the kinds of things that she does for websites. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in, that left comments and likes. Just make sure you follow us for the next episode, or send me a DM if you are an entrepreneur and are interested in kind of what's going on here. Let me know. And thank you so much to United Public Radio Network for having this platform on here. I super appreciate it. And we will see you guys soon. So just remember that we just streamed live on United Public Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And we will catch you guys next week. Thank you and take care.